Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second episode of the On the Rise podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Macaloni, joined here today with Timothy Martina.
What's up, guys?
Awesome
welcome to the second episode. Thank you so much for the wonderful shout out we had on the first episode of On the Rise podcast, where we featured Ozzy Leonora and Georgie Samander. But today we have a wonderful guest here, Mr. Pierre Subeh. I said it right.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, that's the 10th time I did it and it came out right. Mr. Pierre, talk to us. How was your day so far?
My day was good. Today was Monday. So Mondays are a day to restart everything. It's a day to begin from zero.
Yeah.
And kind of clean out all the mess from the week prior.
Okay.
Let's
So
go.
guys,
I like
that's
that.
the first quote from Mr. Pierre today. As you heard, this man has a lot of secrets, a lot of information to share. So stay tuned because this hour is going to be filled with a lot of insights. But I think Jeff has some messages before we get going.
Before we get into the podcast, we would like to thank our partners, JBL, for hooking us up with the awesome audio equipment, and Glacial to keep us cool in these hot weather times. No, but Pierre, you are a business expert, an author, and an award-winning executive producer, and way more, I bet. But we would like to know a little bit about yourself, about your childhood, and how you managed to become who you are today. You are a fellow UCurso, and we're very excited to be having you here on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I can tell you this. I've had a very interesting childhood. I grew up in another side of the world, and I came here when I was 11, which was the absolute worst time to move. I came here like 10 years ago speaking nothing but Arabic, and I had to learn so many new languages, and the culture shock was insane. You guys have no idea what it feels like to go from the east to the west. This is a complete different side of the world. But my childhood, I always spent my summers, everyone went to Disney World and traveled, and I actually stayed at home because we didn't have the passport. So I basically grew up all my summers trying to make money and trying to learn. So we didn't even have cable because I think we didn't really care for cable. YouTube was like the place to be.
Yeah.
I lived on YouTube since as early as I can remember. So everything is how to, and that's where I learned everything. And I remember, not a lot of people know this, but I actually used to sell food in my school. To like buy my first MacBook. And then I worked another summer and I bought my camera, and then that's how it basically went. But growing up, there was not a lot to look up to. So I think that's the big question is, do people need figures to look up to? Do they need role models?
Yeah. Okay.
Because a lot of people do. And that's all about representation. So growing up, I always wanted to be a businessman, but I didn't like the bad side of being a businessman. I like the exciting stuff. So I think the day that I graduated high school, everyone was going to go to college and do whatever they want to do, but I didn't fit in to anything. And so I said, oh yeah, I'll go do business school. 2 days in, I dropped out. I did not enjoy. Yeah, 2 days in. I think it was called Introduction Day.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, oh no, I know more than, not from an arrogant standpoint, but I said, I know more than all these teachers. And it's only Introduction Day. And it didn't come from an arrogant place. It just came from a place of not belonging there.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I got a lot of job opportunities when I was 17. So the day I graduated from school, I became a marketing director, but I had no idea what that is. I got the job because I'm really good at selling what I touch, but I didn't really know about the job. And that's another mentality that I believe in. You should always say yes, even if you don't know it. Say yes and go figure it out.
Exactly.
But don't say no because you're intimidated, because you're never going to know everything, especially in the world that I live in. So I specialize in marketing, and marketing is crazy. It changes every day.
You said you became a marketing director at 17?
Yeah, well, it was like legally when I was 18.
It's just a title, I know, but
Yeah.
I mean, it does come with a responsibility.
It does. So legally, we didn't do it until I was 18.
Okay, there you go.
But
Like on paper, but you started executing marketing directorship.
yes,
things,
yes, exactly.
before.
And people under me were like 27, and I was 17, 18.
Where did you work?
Say that again?
Where did you work? Where did you do the marketing?
At a really nice hotel on the island. Everyone has been to the hotel.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
I mean-
how is that? So coming in at 17 and going up to, such a position.
Yeah.
And I know on the island there's still some, let's call it stereotype around if you reach a certain position, you have to have a certain age and for people to connect respect to it. How was that experience for you coming in?
Honestly, my perception of people's respect never mattered. It never will, because I learned that you're never going to earn their respect fully. You're actually going to earn their respect. The easiest way is if they're taking advantage of you, or if you're serving them. And I learned that to build something, you can't be serving. When you're at the top, you could give back and serve, but you can't be a people pleaser. However, what I did do is I took networking to heart, and I networked very well. So being at the hotel, I think one of the most important things to understand is I would always ask myself, oh, I didn't go to school. Is that bad? But I never took the time to say, wait, I know everything and I'm doing everything. So a lot of times people that are growing up, and especially 17, 18, they say, oh, I don't know what to do. And that's where social media is really bad for you. If you don't want to be a lawyer or a doctor, stick to learning every day on your own. And then just a random topic that I want to say, I've mentored a lot of people that graduated from business school. And they told me, and this is their exact words, we've learned more from you in the last 20 minutes than we learned in our last semester. And it's only because I'm just giving you a lot of concentrated information based on real world. And people that can teach you in school will never teach you real world. So that's how it goes.
And I think for a lot of school systems also, the material that is being taught is very outdated. And I think that also affects, going from a 4-year education and then falling into the working life or the professional world, and then, things are not lining up.
Yeah.
And then a lot of employers see that, for example, wait, hold up, I'm hiring this graduate, but, where's the experience? And that's where I think there's a biggest misalignment, actually.
Yes, because you don't have real life experience. I'll say this, everyone and anyone can grow a business or an idea or whatever it is that you want to pursue from 1 to 100. But only a few individuals can do the 0 to 1. Anyone can scale. Not everyone can build that essential foundation. And the reason that is because we often are given everything. So I speak about this in my TED Talk recently, but basically, I believe that we are very success-driven. Everyone that you speak to, whether it's on the island or wherever they are, they're very success-driven. They look at that Oscar win. They look at that, if you're into sports, you look at that win, that championship, and you idolize that moment. You idolize the yachts, the Gucci, whatever it is, but they never, ever fall in love with the process, the hard work, the months of training, the failures, and that's our biggest issue that no school can solve. Yeah. We're so success-driven that we don't fall in love with the daily process, and the daily process is hectic. The daily process is full of failures. I failed so many times. I lost so much money, but no one knows that side.
I'm laughing because every time I hear failure, I think about my own journey. And I have the most embarrassing story when it comes to failure. And I know every single person has one. Every single has one failure that they will just keep remembering for the rest of their life. Would you like to share one of them with us?
One of my biggest failures.
Damn, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you a successful person, though, 100%.
It does. Well, to be honest, a lot of times I had these ambitious business plans, and they were so costly. I wanted to make everything so fancy. So a long time ago, I used to host events, like a very long time ago. When I was 17. I used to host events, and I wanted everything to be super luxurious. I wanted to order everything custom made, basically give an entire new experience. But I never catered to being profitable or revenue oriented. So my failures were, we lost so much money. We would always be in the red. And we would always be in the red because I would think that people need to see a brand new experience. But now I learned that it's all about slowly creating a beautiful, fancy experience. And that you have to cater to your audiences. So if you're creating a business or you have an idea, you need to know your audience. A lot of people start shops and they say, I'm starting my new swimsuit, swimwear brand. And I say, cool. Did you buy the clothes because you like them or because your audience are looking for them? Yeah. And that is why we've seen the biggest fail, Kylie Swim by Kylie Jenner, was the absolute largest fail. And I know this is off topic, but from the marketing world, we really observed it very well. So Kylie Jenner,
Kylie Jenner.
Who needs no introduction. Introduced Cali Swim in the winter season, which didn't make sense to a lot of people. But actually, she did that because we know now she did that because she wanted people to give their feedback so she can perfect the collection for summer. The real launch is happening now for the summer. But long story short, Kylie put out swimsuits that look good on her body. She never cared about her audience. So that again can tell you a lot.
Right.
It can tell you a lot about you need to cater to who's going to buy that product, who's going to sit in that seat, go to that event, not what you want. I mean, we're three very similar in a lot of ways, but I can tell you we're three very different people.
Right.
So that can tell you as well that you need to curate an experience or a product or a book or a song or whatever it is that you do to the audience while still having your touch on it.
Yeah.
So that
Go ahead.
No, so I'm just curious, like, was that one of your biggest bottlenecks when you were starting up businessman, or?
No, it's today. It's yesterday.
Yeah.
It's every day. In fact, it's like waves. And I wouldn't say the bigger you are because I think that's very egoistic or not nice. But I think the more accomplished you become in your field, the worse the fallbacks become, not the easier. So you really need to have thick skin. And the more expectations people have of you, the more difficult. So today, I deal with more challenges than I dealt with when I was 17.
Yeah.
The only difference is now I know how to handle them, but I have more responsibility. That's why I always say, do not spend your 20s partying only. Your 20s are the time when you can mess everything up because when you're 30 or whenever you're older, that's when you have less leverage. Like if I had a kid or if I had a household to really take care of, every single move would have been like, ooh. But today, I can literally lose everything, go to zero, and I'll be able to rebuild it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you have to say that to yourself. So I know, like I can tell you now, I'm going to rebuild it. But tomorrow when something really bad happens, I'm going to be very anxious. So just because you claim to be strong doesn't mean that you're going to be, rock hard, very, very, very strong all the time. In fact, I believe that the more people that fall under you, the more responsibility you have. Like today I have a team of people. If our marketing firm fails, then they don't eat and then they're unemployed. So it's even harder today.
Yeah. Talking about the marketing firm, because you told us you were 17 years old when you just became a marketing director of a local hotel here on the island.
That we're not going to tell the name of, but everyone's been there.
But yeah, no. From there, you said you dropped out of college, the second day, introduction day. Where did it move from there? Because indeed you are the founder and owner of a very big marketing firm in the United States, and I think internationally as well. You are even now on the Forbes 30 under 30 honoree list. So we want to dive in a bit more into that. But where did you go from that? So after you dropped out, 17-year-old marketing director.
Yeah, I was very lost. I didn't know where to go from there, to be honest. And there was no path. There was no one that can help me. My parents wanted me to go to school, but they believed in me. They gave me the freedom. However, I didn't know where to go. So I had a very good professional life. I always say that. I made very good money and I was very happy work-wise, but I was very unhappy on a personal level because I realized that I cannot work for people, or I cannot work for people under a traditional structure.
Yeah.
Like the modern way of working is different, but I cannot report to you and prove my worth every day. I need to focus on doing the job.
Yeah.
I can't give you fancy presentations every day while you should keep me.
Yeah.
Obviously, you should keep me because you'll never find someone as good as me because that's my whole life. My whole focus is on doing something like this. And even if I'm not the best at my field, I still deserve to be there simply because I'm giving you my 100.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to, I'm not used to, I've never applied for a job. I've never built a resume. So all the things but I wrote an article about how to make a resume, but I don't have a resume on my own. I just export my LinkedIn. And part of it is because I don't believe in resumes. I don't believe in CVs, as you call them, because they don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
One 10-minute conversation with someone can tell you more about them than an entire resume will. But I know the best resumes have the worst people and vice versa. But going back to my journey, when I graduated from school, like high school. Then I dropped out of business school. And then I was actually later on in the process invited for a free program at Harvard University, in which I did, but I didn't fulfill fully because I also was not I was not fond of the process.
But how did you go from there? So how did you get to Harvard?
Yeah, so I got from there. I got there because I just started scraping at creating my own world in marketing. So I positioned myself as the best person in one thing rather than a mediocre person in everything. And a lot of people face this. I'm sure you guys do. I'm sure everyone does. People want to be athletes and they want to do nails and they want to do this and they want to do that and they want to be YouTubers and they want to be TikTokers. But if you only focus on one thing and you're amazing at that one thing, you can sell yourself as someone. Even though, like, my true passion, I love marketing, but my true passion is entertainment. Like, I've always dreamt of being in the entertainment world. However, I learned that it's all about, can you say ass kissing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, it's an ass kissing industry, and I'm not into that. Music is the same thing. I just want my work to speak for itself. I want you to come in and know a lot about me. I don't want to have to connect with you and kiss your ass to be able to get a job or a role. And so I left that. But my true passion is that. However, I just want people to know that you're never going to actually fulfill your true passion. Even athletes. Athletes love playing baseball. They don't like playing baseball on a professional level as a robot. Athletes want to be able to call out of a season when they want to. I've had this conversation. I know it for a fact. Anything that you love that becomes a job automatically loses something. So I think we have to delete this idea about people accomplishing what they like to do. And other than that, alternatively, understanding that you're going to find something similar, but there's a very small chance that you're going to do exactly what you're passionate about. So I positioned myself, I was the best in what I do. I slowly ventured out of that job and created a firm because everyone wanted to work with me. I've never advertised our services yet. We do have plans to grow, of course, especially now that we have more attention on us. And we're going to be potentially acquired, or our portfolio will be acquired. But right now, what we're looking for is going back. If I would have done anything differently, it's just build faster, build more for you. Because the pandemic taught us that everything you do will be gone overnight.
Yeah, for sure.
So build assets that are not replaceable. And don't do what everyone else does. I think that's one of my mistakes. A lot of times I mean, this is very specific, but I did web design and this and that and just everything in the book.
Is that where you started?
I started on social media. So when I started, boosting was not even a thing, but boosting was becoming a thing.
What year was that?
2016, boosting just began on Facebook and no one had an idea how to use it. No one knew what it meant. And that's when we lost the organic Facebook. We got the paid Facebook. And we really, really needed to get accustomed with the time.
Yeah,
and
relearning basically.
Yes, relearning. And that's when I started there. But then I started doing everything. And that was my weakness. I spent so much time going to meetings and building connections that have nothing to do with what I'm passionate about. But it was about the money. It was about people knowing me. And I don't regret it. But if I would have done it differently, I would have only focused on being the best person you know in one thing. And that's why today we focus on paid advertising and search engine optimization. Meaning, like, we help people rank on Google. We help people be seen in incredible ways. We go around the algorithm and make it happen. So to do that is to position yourself in a way that no one can replace you, to put yourself in a field that is very common. You're going to be replaceable any day, every day.
Yeah.
And
so basically, your marketing firm focuses on two things, or two special things.
Right now.
And is that still something that's within your field of, let's call it, passion, or do you say that it's veered off of, what is Pierre's true marketing?
No. It's passion because it's magic, and it's passion because no one knows about it, and it's passion because I get to grow these skills every day in a way where we can bring something to the table that no one can bring, and that's what I love about it. It's not based on creativity; it's based on data, and no one can argue data. You can debate it, but you can't argue data because I have the numbers. You have your numbers, show me. But when it comes about design or art, it's very subjective.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm a little bit away from the entertainment world. That's why I will never, ever design something for a client, because my opinion and your opinion are different. But data and money is the product. If I can sell you making you more money, no one can replace me. If I can sell you design, anyone cheaper, there's so many people more creative than me.
Yeah. If they can make something cheaper and you still like it, then it's fine, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'll never be the most creative, but I could be, or my team and I could be the most data oriented because we're so focused. Now, the risk with that is less demand. The risk with that is education. You can't sell someone something that they don't know, but once they're interested in knowing about it, you're going to shock them. Every meeting you have with them, it's like, wow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So your company is based here in Curacao and in America.
Yeah,
in the
so we
States.
have a hybrid model. We basically we've been remote our whole life.
Right.
I don't believe in office space, although it's beautiful, and I would love to have office spaces.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we were this way because the pandemic would have affected us
Right.
very, very bad. We actually majored in tourism, and so
All of you.
like 65% of our portfolio was in tourism because we help a local hotel rank to someone in Germany. Like that is the product.
Right.
You keep saying we.
Yes.
So who is
Your
we? Team, yeah.
Yes, that's a very good question. My team consists of people that don't work full time, work on contract, and are the best in the industry. From people that worked in Google before, from people that are based overseas and love data their whole life, from people that have all worked in the regular traditional structure and are tired of it and want more freedom. I want you to think about them as freelancers with a commitment. So we don't hire full-time because, again, I believe that people that work full-time in one place get tired and become robots. So what we do is our team at a point consisted of 23 people, and now we're much, much lower depending on the project. But the cool thing about us is that we work on a basis that if we have a project that requires press, if we work on a project that requires SEO, we have over 30 people on call. And when I say 30 people, I don't mean outsourcing on Upwork or whatever people, outsource on. It's real people that work with us and now work at really cool companies, tech companies, fintech companies, marketing firms like HubSpot or SEMrush. So there's a lot of cool people that know the industry and know all about it that can help us, especially given the location of where we're located. Yeah. Curacao and the Caribbean is very wonderful in the sense of the market is so untapped, but it's also very difficult to get access. It's difficult to get the technology here because there's no full infrastructure. It's in the works. And so having this hybrid business model where we are based between America and here, we can bring the best technology from the United States down here, but we can also bring the cultural mix of people and the cool business structure of the Caribbean to the United States. Yes.
And so you guys have clients here in Curacao and in the States?
Yeah, so we have clients in Bonaire, Aruba, St. Martin.
How does that, so, having such a niche product, let's call it that, how does your experience with clients here differ from the ones in the States? Because I could imagine people in the States are much more accustomed to data-driven analysis and decision-making. Yes. But I think still, and quote me if I'm wrong, companies in Curacao, or at least the Caribbean, are still more driven by emotion and what we see on the outside. So the pretty stuff.
Yes.
What has been your experience with that?
I think my experience has been that everyone loves money. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you're making money for someone, they're going to love you. If you're not making money for someone, whether they're emotional, fancy or not, it's just not sustainable. I think it's a fact that we're not the cheapest in the industry. We never were. We will never be. Our product is very data-oriented, and it's not expensive. It's simply it's not an economic price, I would say. And one of the things that drives us is I have to do that. If I don't do that, I'm not going to give you a full product. I've done it all, and that's the only way to offer A to Z. Amazon has something called A to Z guarantee, which is very self-explanatory. And we offer that same thing because we're with you from A to Z. Now, one of the mistakes that we did with the firm, and I love talking about mistakes because they excite me for some reason, I always thought that it's about long-term clients. I still love all of our clients and put them very close and nearby, but business is business. So the pandemic taught us that everyone can replace you, or not really replace you, but everyone can let you go when there's no money, right? And one of the things that I would do differently, and I would recommend anyone to do, never ever let one client take more than 5% of your revenue. Because of that, a lot of companies, a lot of law firms, 20 or 30, even hotels, 30% of their revenue comes from one company or one partner or the government.
Source,
one source. And the moment that source is gone, you're on the floor. But if you're just like investing, if you diversify your portfolio, no one can knock you down. And if they knock you down, like if someone leaves, someone else comes back. I just think I had this mentality that if someone loves you and you love them back work-wise, they'll never leave you.
Yeah.
It's like if you collaborate, because the same people that collaborate with me today, we've collaborated with like since I was 17. The same companies that we work with today are the same companies that we worked with back then. So it's just remotely not acceptable for me to like, it's almost like letting go of a relationship. That's how it feels to me. And so that is one of the lessons I had to learn that I think everyone should know.
Yeah. So we've, I think we've gone pretty much in depth about your business expert side, but we've spoken about in the beginning, he's also an author or a published author.
Yes.
Talk to us. How did that start? Why writing? Because, I think that people want to know.
I saw last time a really big announcement on Instagram for Entrepreneurcom.
Yes.
Right? Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, Entrepreneur Magazine is actually the largest in-domain authority.
Right.
It's right there next to Forbes. And I looked up to Entrepreneur.com growing up. Actually, a lot of people read Entrepreneur.com articles but never realize it. They are the source for business knowledge, how to run a marketing campaign, how to be successful, any of these frequently asked questions. And they have invited me to their leadership network, which basically consists of the best and youngest leaders. I wouldn't say the best. The best is so overused. I would say the most unique change makers in the world, which is what Forbes 30 Under 30 also stands for. And I loved writing my whole life because I'm really good at writing emails, for example. I'm really, really good at telling a story from A to Z and captivating people. And I think that's the real product, whether it's speaking it, talking it, writing it. I think telling a story, storytelling is the way into everyone's hearts. And that's why one of my favorite things to do was writing captions for clients on social media.
Lowercase captions.
Lowercase captions, yes, exactly. And so writing came into hand because of an invitation from Entrepreneur, and it was the best opportunity ever. I mean, I can speak to anyone, and anyone will answer me. I can interview the CEO of any company you dream of, and it comes with a lot of perks in the sense of, when you're writing about a company or someone, it's an opportunity for you to create a bond with them, a relationship that you can never create going to a networking event. So that's the difference.
Pa qualche cosa cubo que preparar? Botania turcos pahasie na esperamos supermarket. Na Janor Duinweg e Caracas Byweg.
Okay, so we spoke about writing and entrepreneur, but I think in the beginning and also, a couple of minutes ago, you mentioned Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree list.
Yes.
Talk to us. I mean, it's Forbes.
Yeah, it's I think the biggest thing I've done in my life. And yet the most surreal feeling that I had that morning. So I know I've always looked at Forbes 30 Under 30. The list comes out December 1st every year, most of the years. And one of the reasons why I always wanted to be on this list, well, actually, I never wanted to be. I always looked up to the list. And then I said, what if I could be on the list?
Right.
But then there's no way for you to really do something to be on the list. You have to just keep doing your thing, and then you're gonna eventually be on the list. So
for our audience, what exactly is the 30 Under 30?
Forbes is one of the largest and most prestigious business-oriented publications. It's been around for over 100 years. It covered the biggest presidents. It's huge. It's on another level. And one of the things that Forbes has, it has a very hard, I want you to think about like a very tall gate. No one can enter or leave Forbes very easily. It's a very, very strict community to enter. And they have this thing that they started 10 years ago exactly, and it's called 30 Under 30, where they recognize the 30 change makers in the world that are leading in their industry or leading change. And
Vroom, vroom.
someone was supportive of the idea. and so Forbes 30 Under 30 Under 30 is this very, I want you to think about like an exclusive community of creators and founders and billionaires. There's a lot of billionaires in that list that are my age. The only thing is everyone is 29. They always list you right before you're 30. So I had no expectations, but it's definitely one of my dreams. I was contacted like 5 months ago, and they said, "Hey, you are a potential candidate. Like, please don't get excited. We do this to a lot of people. we do this to like 1,000 people. We have, I think, this year they had, I'm not sure if it was 300,000 or 30,000 applications of some sort, or candidates or something." And then I get the email, and they tell me, "Oh yeah, you just have to answer these like 200 questions. You have 5 days to answer these 200 questions, and every question is a paragraph answer." It was so long. They ask for your tax returns. They ask for very amazing questions. They ask you as a leader what you stand for. What would you do in this situation if someone was racist in your company? What would you do if this is this? What would they put you in a lot of scenarios.
Right. But you said you were contacted by them. Did you have to apply to be contacted?
Yes, so you can either apply or someone can nominate you.
Okay.
But they get 300,000 applications or 30,000, and we're not sure. But one of these two numbers, and very few get contacted.
Okay.
So the way it's done, it's you're shortlisted, and then after that you make it to a list of 1,000 people,
And then they contact you.
And then they contact those 1,000 people, and then they narrow it down to 30 people, and the judges actually include people like Taylor Swift. They included Katy Perry. They included the CEO of Google. They include really big people. So it's not just random judges that have an agenda or know you.
That are just focused on business, for example.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
a wide range.
Yeah, you guys know the company Peloton?
Yeah, they do the
Yes.
stationary bike.
So, sorry, oops. There's a lot of sound interruptions. So thanks to me. So Peloton and LinkedIn. I was judged by the marketing VP of LinkedIn and the marketing VP of Peloton, and then a third person that I don't really recognize. But those two people were one of the judges, along with like a lot of other judges. And so it's an honor. It's really, really cool to see that. And long story short, woke up December 1st. It was a surreal moment of being on the list. My name, for some reason, was all the way at the end, because I think I was one of the youngest, or I was the youngest in my list. And I was scrolling. I was like, let me see who's on the list. Really cute. Yeah, I'm not on the list. And then the last name, or I think one of the last names, I see my name, and I just go in shock. It was 6 a.m. I call my mom, and Selena, she's like, Selena's my sister. I'm sorry.
Shout out.
Yeah, my mom and my sister. I like talking to you guys. Like, yeah, you know my whole family.
I think we do now.
And they were like, "Are you sure? Like, is this real?" And then Selena, my sister, was like, "I love you."
He loves his sister, guys.
Yeah, she's like, "I love you, but
I don't think so.
I love you, but I don't think this was like." What? Because we have this high perception of people that make anything. And then I was part of a really cool community. Now I'm still part of it. We have group chats. I'm in the same group chat as a lot of people. Like listers this year include Miley Cyrus, Jack Harlow. They include, I don't know if you guys are into podcasts, but someone by the name of Alexandra Cooper, Call Her Daddy, which is the second biggest podcast in the world.
Awesome.
After Joe Rogan. So they're all in the same group as I am in, and we have these trips every year and all these gatherings. So it's a place to connect, it's a place to grow, it's a place to find new opportunities and give new opportunities. But greatest honor of my life. And now the question is, what do you do with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you're on that list, there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Yes. And it's about creating a place. I love business, but I think business is perceived as very educational. And so my goal is to make business fun. My goal is to make education fun and exciting. I want you to know about the world. Did you guys know that Starbucks is a bank and not a coffee shop?
No, I did not know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of topics that I want to touch base on that people don't know, that people need to know about business. And so there's a company that only specializes in buying your lost luggage. Like when you pack your luggage and you travel and that luggage gets lost, it ends up in a company in Alabama. One company in the whole world that buys all the lost luggage. And someone can buy your bag with your private items. No one knows about these things. the more you understand about how the world functions, the more you're going to be able to find business ideas, the more that you're going to be able to find your passion. And so one of my next goals and endeavors that I'm going on using the Forbes 30 Under 30 platform is creating an educational space for content that is fun, exciting, but very educational.
But how do you get access to this information? For example, like there's a company in Alabama that
Yeah. Unclaimed Baggage is their name, and so the way that I get my information is because I'm very passionate, and I write for Entrepreneur, and I work in marketing, and now I have my network of 30 Under 30. But it's also based a lot on research, and so one of the reasons why I really want to launch this platform, by platform I mean my content, is because a lot of things, but one of the things is Adele recently was doing an interview, and they asked her if she watches The Housewives or something, The Real Housewives, and she said, no, I don't watch mind-numbing content. I watch content that at the end of the content, I know something I didn't when I started. And I think that is the demand that there is right now for people to learn about the things around them is what I want to feed. I love content. I'm very nerdy about a lot of content, but I'm very fun about how I show it and make it digestible. So that's where basically the next goal is, because my businesses will leave the day I leave. You know, my accomplishments, I mean, what does that do to the world? But I mean, it does representation, which is very good. But one of the things that will really contribute if you leave this earth is your content, how you help people. And I think one of the things that drive me, like, I want to wake up and educate people about things that they didn't know they needed.
Yeah. And I think you just mentioned it leaves representation. What do you mean exactly by that?
Yeah, a lot of people didn't grow up seeing people that look like them. I'm not talking only about me, like I'm talking about everyone.
Right.
I think it wasn't until recently that we started seeing real representation.
Exactly.
Like the first Aladdin as a character was played by white people the entire history of time, until recently they casted someone who's Middle Eastern to play a part of a Middle Eastern person. And that was cool to see representation. And I'm not speaking only about the Middle East. I'm speaking about people in Curacao need to be more proud that where they're from. I know so many successful people that are from here, that work for really big companies in the US and Europe, but you never really hear as much as you're supposed to hear, because I think representation matters, and a lot of people think that representation is not significant. But I need to know that someone like me that comes from my background is able to accomplish. Because if I only see the biggest people accomplishing the biggest things, then I have this perception of failure from day one.
Yeah.
If only
there's
rich,
no way to get there.
Yes, and honestly, a lot of YouTubers started being rich or started from a place that is really nice. By a lot, I mean like people that rank on the top trending pages. And so if I look up to them, like, oh yeah, I don't have that money, I didn't grow up like them, I never be like them.
Basically, like their narrative is that if you had access to money, information, or you know, resources in general, that's how you're gonna get there.
Yeah, because we are humans that make excuses. We love to blame and we love to point fingers, but when we're left with no fingers to point, that's when we can actually take the time to reflect back. And I also think we all have a source of power. Power comes from within us. Your passion doesn't come from me telling you what you want. It doesn't come from school telling you what you need to do. It comes from you just sitting down. I once heard this thing, it's not an original idea, but someone asked Jada Smith, who's the wife of Will Smith, where is the best place you've traveled to? She said, oh, in my bedroom, internally. So it's not going to India. It's not going to wherever people dream to go. It's about the Maldives, Bora Bora. Cool, but is that really the deepest travel that you're going to do? So I think we all have a source of power that we're not in touch of. And if I could look back at my journey, I didn't learn anything that I didn't have when I was 16, 15, 14. I just uncovered. I unlearned the trash that this entire society gave to me. Even my family gave to me, my friends, like everyone. Everyone gives you burdens, and your family is not supposed to support you fully. Everyone is going to have their fair share of harming you without wanting to, or wanting to, we never know. And it's your job to unlearn it as you become an adult and uncover so you can find your true passion. And that's why you see a lot of burnouts everywhere, because people follow paths that are not their unique paths.
Yeah, and then somewhere along the road, they get, this question of, why am I doing this? Why am I waking up every day and going to work and not being passionate about it? And then that's where the whole, let's call it mental exhaustion, comes from. And then all of a sudden they're at this crossing point. Do I go left? Do I go right? I don't know. And then they freeze.
Yes, they freeze because there's no sustainable path for them. So again, like going back to what we spoke earlier, I think one of the things that you could do to achieve your wildest dreams, which is the title of my TED Talk, is to do two really important things. Understand first that we live in a success-driven society, and understand that if you have a really big goal, you need to do micro steps. You want to do 100 push-ups a day, you've never worked out, you're not a superhero. Please don't do 25, 50, 75, then 100, because it's too much. Do one today, two tomorrow, 3, 4, 5. Take it slow, because these goals are so small that if we fail at them, we don't feel that guilt that we feel usually when we want to give up. But also these goals are sustainable. Yeah. Sustainable is such an underused word when it comes to accomplishing goals. And then another thing is, a lot of people tell me, I want to be a musician, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a gamer, I want to be this. Lovely. Where are you starting? Show me any of your work. And so it starts with doing another thing, which I call the sequential pyramid. So think about a pyramid.
Yeah, right.
Think about a pyramid. And it has these small blocks that have these mini goals, and you have to accomplish one of them right after another. So the first one will lead to the second one, and so on until you reach the peak. And that peak represents your ultimate goal. And that's how bigger dreams are accomplished. That's how you can take a big bite. And that's how, I don't know if you guys know, but one of the craziest things that I've done is convincing the White House to recognize April as the Arab American Heritage Month, even though I'm not American. And I'm not an active citizen, but one of the reasons why I did this is because I was traveling in the airport of Miami back in 2017, and I was called a terrorist by the immigration officers. I was questioned for 4 hours. They asked me if I'm a terrorist, and I said, I am not a terrorist. And I was 17 also at the time, and they put me alone. They separated me from my friends. Immigration gave me like the scariest scare. And I said, I am not a terrorist, and you're racially profiling me and a bunch of stuff. We spoke for 4 hours. And then I said, how can I change America? Like, how can I? And that's where my career took a turn. I said, I no longer just want to be an active member of society that says yes to everything. And yeah, sure, go ahead. Oh yeah, you want to bully these people? Yeah, go bully them. No, standing up is having purpose for me. And it should be for everyone. Not only a few of us should be brave to stand up. Everyone should be brave to stand up for everyone else that is underrepresented. And that does not mean that it's only people that look like you or feel like you or love like you. It's about people that, from whatever background, whatever sexuality, whatever color, you need to love, because what matters the most is understanding that if I'm secure in who I am, I'm secure in having you around me. If I'm insecure about the person that I am today, then you threaten me. And so that's where I said, like, no, I will not stand this. I was very resilient. I was not submissive to these immigration officers. I was like, oh no, I'm not, and this is where I'm from, and this is what I'm doing. And I left, and I created this entire campaign that 4 years later convinced the White House. It's very long and very boring.
But last year was the first time that it was actually recognized.
Yes, we actually got a letter from President Biden.
Okay.
From the Biden-Harris administration.
Right.
And it was recognized by like U.S. Department of State, U.S. Homeland Security, bunch of stuff, really cool. I think it's the power of understanding someone from Curacao that lives in Curacao is capable of doing anything they set their mind to do.
Exactly.
If they carry that goal fully. You have to carry one goal at a time. You have to carry it on your back. A lot of people like to think that you can hold 2 watermelons at the same time. You can, but you can't hold 3 watermelons at the same time, theoretically, right? I'm sure someone will find a way, but the moral of the story is carry a fewer things in your lifetime and let them have impact rather than overwhelming yourself. And as I say this to you, I'm practicing it every day because I'm really good at overwhelming myself with things. So one goal at a time, one thing at a time, modular.
Yeah.
That's how it has to go.
So going from, creating this, let's call it, wonderful marketing company to being on the Forbes to writing for Entrepreneur and also, starting this initiative that became, the World Arab Heritage Month.
Yes, yes.
In April. Why do you do this? Well, what's the reason? What's the fire behind all these initiatives for you?
There's a lot of different ones.
Yeah.
Well, they all kind of fall in the sequential pyramid, which means, again, everything leading to one another. Entrepreneur led to Forbes. Forbes led to this. That led to this. But one thing I can tell you is I do it because I look back at the young version of myself that often felt very secluded from, everywhere I went. I didn't speak the language. I didn't have the passport. I didn't do this. And I just want to look back one day when I'm 60, 70, whatever. And I look back and I say, wow, you really did something. Your parents didn't do all this for you to have a normal job. And by normal job, I mean an ordinary life. And I don't think ordinary lives are in any way
to be scoffed at. Yeah.
Yes. However, I do believe that some of us, I was born with the curse and the blessing of having the very goals-driven mentality. It's a curse because normal people can do normal things and sleep at night. I don't sleep most nights because I'm thinking about what can I do, how can I change, how can I do, So I think I do it because I have no option because I cannot sleep at night if I'm not contributing back and giving back because that's my source of power.
Okay.
So that's, I think, a good way to answer it.
So it's giving back to some extent.
It's giving back, not financially, but long-term things that will be with you forever. Again, I don't believe in giving people money because if you give people money, it will come in and it will leave. But if you give people tools to make money, then they're going to make money for the rest of their life. So that's how it kind of works, yes. And that's what drives me every day, every morning, every night. And that's what I'm trying to do right now, to create that into a real influence, because right now there's so many difficulties, right? We face infrastructure issues. We all have excuses. We all live in different places. We all wish we had access to different things. And one of the things that I'm working on is putting all those excuses aside, starting from scratch and building a bridge. Because I'm going to ask you a question. Do you know how many famous YouTubers come from the island that we live on right now? Like fully famous, mega famous YouTubers?
No, I don't.
No.
Yeah, it's zero.
Oh, okay.
And
I was actually starting to think who?
yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking who is... No, yeah, you're right.
It's zero, but we have more access to things than a lot of people do. I think one of the things that we struggle with as a society as well is, oh, he knows me, she knows me, he's going to see me, she's going to see me, he's going to judge me. And, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the perspective of people basically weighs heavy on, I think, a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. So I think my goal is to create that infrastructure, that bridge, build that bridge. Everyone is intimidated by other societies. Well, not everyone, most people are. But I think building that bridge between societies is very important.
Right.
Because you don't have to be in America to be famous in America. You don't have to be in Curacao to do certain things in Curacao. So it's about understanding that remote way of working, because I did my high school remotely.
Okay.
I only know remote.
Yeah.
But now the world got to know remote because of the...
We didn't have a choice, really.
Yeah, because of the Panamaria.
Panamaria.
Yes.
And so if you had one tip that you would give, that you would give younger Pierre, let's say 10 years ago, what would that be?
Yeah, slow down, take a breath, many, many breaths. Understand that your anxiety needs to be treated. It is not based, you're not anxious because you want the iPhone. You're not anxious because you want to graduate. You're anxious because whatever you do, you're always going to be anxious. Embrace it, treat it, do whatever you need to do with it, and slow down, because you were not meant to ever be compared to anyone around you. You were never meant to be compared to someone on Instagram. You were never meant to be compared to anyone around you. Your purpose is extremely unique, and your vision is to not be replicated by anyone, because your story is so unheard of. And I think that applies to everyone, no matter how common they think their story is.
And I think a lot of people can find themselves somewhere in that saying, you don't have to be compared to anyone. I think the most beautiful thing is that when you can fully embrace your inner self, your inner uniqueness, and find a way to make that, flourish for you. Yeah.
Yes, and quick note, we need to normalize mental health. And I don't say this like everyone else says it. I'm going to say it a little bit roughly. most of my friends, if I tell them I'm depressed, they don't know what to do. They actually change the topic. Or most of my friends, when I tell them I'm anxious or I have anxiety, they say, oh, I feel bad for you. Okay, cool. So what should we eat? Because they either don't understand how important it is or they don't know how to talk it. Yeah. So I think it's important we start asking ourselves how you feel, how we feel. Most of my friends don't suffer with a lot of things, but just because you don't suffer from something doesn't mean that you can't understanding or be empathetic or sympathetic. So I think I just want to put everything I said business-wise and also add the most important topic of all, normalizing mental health. Because if we cannot speak about how we feel, then business will not matter and success will not matter and money will not matter.
Yep.
I was the least happy when I made the most money. And I'm not going to say that today I'm the happiest I've ever been, but I'm going to tell you that I've been the happiest when I wasn't so focused on my goals. So it applies to everyone, not me. Like, this is copy paste for everyone. Money will not bring you happiness. Something else will.
Yeah.
And you need that mental peace more than anything.
Wow.
Yes.
Damn, what an ending.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I completely feel that as well. I mean, during my whole journey in becoming I would say, successful in the Caribbean, esports entrepreneur, it took me a lot of falls, a lot of anxiety, a lot of moments where I felt hopeless and all of that. So I definitely know where you're coming from, and everyone needs to be okay to talk about it, to be able to keep, thriving in this whole difficult.
Yeah, basically finding fuel in failure. Actually, I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people, and not let it break you or discourage you, but actually learn from it and see how it can make you more resilient. Actually, and I think we're almost there on time. Mr. Pierre, thank you so much for being on the second episode. We went on a lot of topics. It was a great conversation for me. Very insightful. And we don't want to leave you empty-handed. We want to give you this small little, small but pungent.
JBL go-to
pungent.
I've been looking at it the whole time. Not because I want it. I mean, I want it, but I was like, what is this? Is this a timer? I thought it was a clock from the back. Wow. Okay. Can you tell me about? Can you tell me about it? Do you know the features?
Okay, let me do a quick little commercial.
Yes, please.
I'll do it for the audience as well. So, guys, this is JBL go-to Bluetooth speaker. It has 5 hours of listening time. It is water resistant. We got speaker. We got IPX7 waterproof. So for all y'all out there,
you're hired. You're hired.
You're hired. I'm hired.
No, that's for you.
Yeah,
also.
no, it's a really good speaker. I actually have one at home.
5 hours battery life.
Exactly.
Whenever you're on the go to listen to some nice music powered by JBL.
Yeah, when you want to have a concert in the bathroom all by yourself.
I love that. That happens every day.
Yeah.
This is really cool. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Pierre. We learned a lot about you, about your whole journey, all the amazing stuff you're doing. Keep doing them. We're proud to see you do Corso as well, making moves all around the world.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Thank you for what you're doing and recognizing people that need it. People need to hear more stories. More stories need to be told.
For sure.
100%.
Definitely. Yes. Oh, before we go, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just Google my name, Pierre space Subeh, but mostly on Instagram. I think Instagram is the place to be for me right now, and I'd love to help anyone that needs help, anyone that needs, an opinion, a question that they have. I always love helping people. Yes,
and they can reach out to you via your Instagram
DM,
as well.
Yes, DM. Direct messages.
Awesome.
Well, we'll put all of the links below as well. Pierre, thank you so much for joining us. And guys, remember, if you want anyone to be interviewed in the future, please drop their names in the comments below, and we will try to have them on the podcast. Thank you very much for watching.
Second episode done. Stay tuned for number 3. And this was it for On the Rise podcast.
Yes, sir. All right. Execution.